Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine from SEB Housing, and tonight I'm going to run the lottery for the 9 affordable rental units at the Pastures at Dover in Dover, Massachusetts. So I'm going to get the lottery underway in just a few moments. If you have any questions during the meeting, you're encouraged to either type them into the chat through Zoom, or you were muted when you came into the meeting, but you can unmute yourself and let me know if you have a question. And you also heard the disclaimer as you came into the meeting, letting you know that this is being recorded and it will be shared with everyone who is a lottery household member. So just some quick background on the lottery pool, how many applicants applied per unit, size, all of this information will be given to you after the drawing. So when you get the waiting list sent to you by email, you're also going to have kind of the breakdown of how many people applied and all of that. But just want to give it a quick few minutes to give you some background information. So all lottery applicants should already have a lottery application number that was emailed to you when you were found eligible for the lottery. In this case, your lottery number is between A.001 and A.0119. So let me know if you don't have that. That is what is going to be drawn tonight. There won't be, calling of anyone's names or anything like that. So you will need that number to be able to look at the waiting list after they're sorted and see where you fall on them. So there was 9 total affordable units. It's a popular lottery. We had 115 completed applications. So there's 115 households in this lottery. The lottery numbers go up to 119 because there were some duplicate applications that needed to be removed. So there are 2 3-bedroom apartments. There were a total of 47 completed applications for those 3 bedrooms. 1 household qualifies for local preference. There are 4 2-bedroom apartments, and there were 36 applicants. 2 of those applicants qualify for a local preference. And then there are also 3 1-bedroom apartments, and there were a total of 45 completed applications for the 1-bedrooms. 1 of those 1-bedrooms is a disabled accessible apartment, and 2 applicants in the lottery reported that they qualify for the accessibility features of that disabled accessible apartment. So they'll have priority on the waiting list for that unit. So back when you completed your lottery application, you indicated, and we confirmed for you as well, whether you were a type 1, 2, or 3 household. And just you want to keep in mind for the waiting list, for the 3-bedroom waiting list, type 3 households are going to have priority over type 2 households. And on the 2-bedroom waiting list, type 2 households will have priority over type 1 households. And that's because, again, the affordable housing program is just designed in a way that households will not have priority for units with more bedroom sizes than their household may actually require. And then also for this lottery, 1-person households cannot rent 2-bedroom units, and 2-person households can't rent 3-bedroom units unless there's a member of the household with a disability that requires that extra bedroom. Okay, so because the results of tonight's lottery drawing still needs to be sorted by household type, local preference, whether or not your household requires the disabled accessible apartment, you're not going to know during the drawing tonight where you fall on the waiting list. I first need to sort the results from tonight and put them onto the waiting list. So the good news is I normally am able to get the waiting list out to lottery applicants the evening of the lottery, so later on tonight, or at the latest tomorrow morning. So you'll have that in your email inbox, even though you won't know tonight exactly where you stand on the waiting list. So there's going to be 2 drawings tonight. I'm going to be using the website random.org to complete the drawings. That's a website that's going to digitally randomize the lottery application numbers rather than having me, pull them from a box. That wouldn't be fun for anyone to sit through with this number of applicants. but there's going to be two drawings. There's going to be a local preference drawing for the 8 households who indicated that they either live in Dover or work full-time within that town. I'm going to insert those 8 application numbers into what's called just a feature in random.org called a list randomizer, and it's going to digitally spit out the results of those 8 numbers will be randomized and given a random order. After that local preference drawing, I'll do the same for the full list of 115 lottery application numbers. I'll put them into random.org, and it will digitally generate the order. I'll be screen sharing, so you'll be able to see the results of tonight's drawing. It'll be instantaneous, and I'll be sharing my screen during that process. So I'm going to share my screen right now, actually, to give you a idea, or just so you can sort of see a real quick example of how that's going to work. I'm going to screen share, and I am just going to the website random.org. So you should see that on your screen right now. I'm going to scroll down to list randomizer. Again, this is not the drawing. This is just me putting in a few numbers. I'm going to put in 1 through 5. And I'm going to click randomize. When I do this, when this is the drawing, I will be copying and pasting the list of lottery application numbers, A.001, etc., into here, and then clicking randomize. But in this case, this isn't the drawing. This is just me showing you how this is going to work. So numbers 1 through 5 are in here. I'm going to click randomize. It spits out a random order of the numbers that I submitted. So in this case, number 5 was the first number drawn. It has the first position on this list, and you can see it goes down the line from there. So that's what it's going to look like in just a few moments when I do the drawing, or the drawings, the local preference drawing, as well as the general drawing. So basically, tonight's drawings are allowing us to properly sort the results onto the waiting list. This is just one step in the process of renting one of the affordable apartments at the Pastures at Dover. So the waiting lists are going to determine the order in which households get to reserve units. So it's important to remember tonight's drawing, like I said, is not the final results of the waiting list. I still need to sort everything by household type, local preference, etc. So after the drawing, like I said, you're going to get an email from me. It's going to come from info@scbhousing.com, or it will come from noreply@scbhousing.com. I think I'll be able to send this from info@scbhousing, and you'll get it by tomorrow morning at the latest. That email is going to have the waiting list attached to it. So you'll see where you were placed on each of the waiting lists. You could be on more than one waiting list if you applied for and are eligible for a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom, for example. So make sure you look through all of them to see your lottery application number. And when you receive that email, you're going to see that the top households on each waiting list are highlighted in green. And that's because those households are going to be immediately invited to move forward to the next step in the process, which is to work with the leasing office to complete a lease application. So that lease application process might be, credit check, landlord reference checks, that sort of thing that you might be familiar with if you've rented before. And the leasing office is going to be inviting you to complete their lease screening. And, they are going to most likely be calling forward more households than there are available units. So if there's 2 units available, they might call forward, up to 8 people. So just keep that in mind. It's to try to keep the process moving. There's going to be households on the waiting list who drop off because they're either not eligible or they're not interested in the apartments anymore. So they want to make sure that the process keeps going. So if you're found lease eligible by the leasing office, if you have the highest position on one of the waiting lists, you're going to have the first chance to select and reserve an apartment. If you're not one of the top households that's highlighted in green on the waiting list after tonight, you will not be called forward right away. If someone ahead of you on the waiting list drops off, because again, they're either no longer interested or they're not eligible, then you may be contacted at a later date to complete the next step in the process. So it's important to keep in mind that SCB Housing, we have only screened your lottery application so far, and on that lottery application was your self-reported income and information. So you don't want to give notice, even if you're one of the top households on the waiting list after the lottery. You don't want to give notice to your current property owner because you haven't been lease screened or you haven't gone through your final eligibility with SCB Housing. So after you're lease screened, if you're found eligible by the leasing office, you'll be sent back over to SCB Housing to complete your program eligibility information with us. And that at that point, that's when you're going to have to submit your income, asset, tax documentation to us, which you haven't done yet. So if you're found eligible for both of, for the lease screening, you hopefully have gathered all of the documentation that you saw in the documentation requirements guide that was emailed to you when you were found eligible for this lottery, and you have your pay stubs and things like that that are ready to be submitted. You'll have about 10 days to get that information into SCB Housing if you move along to that step in the process. And we'll work with you, if you don't get everything into us on that first try, we'll make sure that we work with you to get all the information we need to determine your eligibility for the affordable housing program. And then finally, just a reminder before the drawings, if you do end up leasing one of these apartments, one of these affordable apartments, you will have to do a recertification of your income each year with the leasing office. So we usually just recommend that affordable unit renters are maintaining a folder or something of that sort with your updated pay stubs, tax returns, asset information, that sort of thing. So you have it available for as long as you're renting an affordable unit. All right, so I'm going to go back to screen sharing to do the drawings. Before I do that, does anyone have any questions before I run the lottery? I'm going to start with the local preference drawing. I'm going to share my screen again. So there's only 8 applicants who indicated that they had local preference for this lottery. So I'm going to share my screen again. I'm already on random.org. And I'm going to click into list randomizer. I also have a spreadsheet here with the 8 local preference application numbers. So I'm going to copy these numbers into the list randomizer. And this is going to be the drawing for the local preference household. If you're a local preference household, you're also going to be drawn in the general drawing in just a few minutes. That includes everyone. But in order to have an order of priority for the local preference households, we have to do this drawing as well. So I'm going to click randomize, and those 8 numbers have been randomized. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this order over to my spreadsheet here. And just give me a second to reformat it. And I'll keep this up on the screen for just a moment so anyone who has local preference is able to see where they were drawn in the order here. So that's the local preference drawing. That's the order of the 8 numbers here that were randomized. All right, I'm going to save this so I don't lose the order, and I'm going to go over to the list randomizer again. And I have 115 application numbers here that I'm going to copy and paste into the list randomizer so we can do the general drawing, which most of you, or which everybody will be a part of. Oops. All right, so I'm going to copy, make sure I have everybody. 115 applicants for the Pastures at Dover. This is the general drawing lottery, so this includes all 115 households. I'm going to click randomize now, and that is the order that I'm going to copy. I'm also going to put it into my Excel sheet and scroll through it, so you'll be able to see where your number was drawn. If you can't see it for whatever reason, maybe it's small on your screen or you called in, I will be able to find it for you. So let me this will make it easier to find the numbers. I'm going to save that result as well. So this is the order of application numbers for the general drawing for the Pastures at Dover. So since there's only 115, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to kind of maximize this a little bit so hopefully you can see it pretty well. I'm going to scroll down so you can look for your number, and then if you don't see it, there's only 13 people on the call right now, so I will be able to find it for you. Just once again, this isn't the waiting list. These numbers, this drawing allows us to generate the waiting list. So in general, it's better to be called early or to have a placement further up the drawing list, but certainly is not the deciding factor because not every household applied for the same unit size that you're going for and all of that. Almost at the bottom here. All right, so that's the bottom of the list. Was anyone not able to find their number that wants me to have a look? You can either type it into the chat or unmute yourself. Sure. Yep. All right, so I'm going to say it just because it's easier for me to do that. So I'm looking for A.0067. You were drawn 52nd in the general drawing, and you weren't on the local. Number 110011. You were drawn 28th in the general drawing, not on the local. Anyone else? So like I said, these results are going to be now used by me to sort the results onto the waiting list. So I'll be doing that tonight, and I will send you an email. You can expect it at from info@scbhousing.com or no reply at scbhousing.com. The waiting list will be attached. The sorted waiting list will be attached to that email, and from there, you'll have more information on whether or not you're going to be asked to move forward to the next step in the process, which is the lease screening that will be done by the leasing office. All right, if no one else has any other questions, I'll get to work on that, and you can expect to hear from me sometime tonight. Thank you all for joining. Have a good night.